I think that's it.
Restream's got stuff coming through. That's good.
Has it?
Yeah. Yep. We've got on Twitch. Check audio. Yeah, audio fine on Twitch, and we are on YouTube as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, we are running.
Yay!
Yay! Glib on the TheSuffolkRam.
Skazz.
Welcome to episode 148 of the Around Nerds podcast.
Oh my god, we're almost at 150. Wait, what was 150 going to be again?
We were meant to be going to Chernobyl.
Definitely safer than where we're living now.
Probably, yeah, there's less people about.
Yeah, I wish I had a passport.
Yeah, then we get mutated COVID at Chernobyl.
I'd take it. At this point, mate, I would take it.
This is how Stalker started, you see.
Oh,
saw how Stalker, yeah.
We're going to go and ask the devs, like, how exactly? Oh, yeah, COVID-19.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
There you go.
It wasn't some secret Russian psychic collective, it was just COVID-19.
Yep.
So
the more you know.
More you know. But yeah, we had all this stuff planned. We were going to get, masks and, suits and, stay indoors. And
it turns out we need that right now just to go to the shop. It's great.
Exactly. Other than that, hey. So,
fantastic.
Who'd have thought this where we were playing that? When we were playing that, like, back in January, who'd have thought this is where we'd be?
Yeah.
But at least in these dire times, you have the Round Nerds podcast to keep you company and to help you get through.
Yes, I will try and keep nihilistic comments to a minimum.
And failing that, you can always join us on the Twitch channel to watch the Round Nerds game night,
where you can then definitely hear loads of "I fucking hate this, you cheating bastards" end of the world comments, because it's full of cheating bastards.
Yeah,
and there's no way people can deny it, by the way. No one can fucking deny it. You watched that last stream, my gods, cheating bastards.
You watch the edit, when the video goes up on Monday, the first or further it seems quite normal, then you get to the last one, and trust me, you will see them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They all seem to come online at roughly the same time, and I've got footage of them just flying in the air.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Yeah. So
we play Hunt Showdown. You got to deal with people using NVIDIA filters. We play Fall Guys. You got to deal with people flying. It's like, what the hell's the point, man? What's the point?
So our Fall Guys somehow seems just worse because at least with a filter, it's not necessarily automatic win mode. Whereas in Fall Guys, it's basically push the button and you're going to win.
Yeah. Fair point.
So at least you had a sort of a chance in Hunt Showdown,
and all just for cosmetics, realistically.
Yeah, you don't get anything. You can almost, in your playing Fall Guys, you want to try and work out who the cheaters are. Look in the store first before you play the game. Look what the unlocks are, and then go play the game. And if you see anyone wearing those unlocks, almost guaranteed they're going to be cheating.
Yeah,
because that's how they got them so quick.
Which is sad, really.
It is because it's a fun game, but I think towards the end of it, we're all like, "Fuck it, I'm not playing this anymore."
Yeah, it got to the point. I mean, there were some people who were just literally. It was one person. Like, do you remember? So we ended up getting to the point where there was the football game when it was like, there's no way the cheat is going to help here because it's nothing that involves kind of falling, gravity, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, well, how the hell could a flying cheat help in a game of football? And literally, the guy was flying into the goal hole, lifting the ball back up and just booting it across screen. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like there were no matches that you could really think of where a flying cheat wouldn't just completely break it.
I mean, Zaya did a valiant effort because he was on the cheaters team and he did a valiant effort trying to score own goals so the cheater would get eliminated.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. The guy literally just flew straight into the goal and would just catch any ball that his own team was trying to knock back in.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, perhaps there's a couple of games where we started next. Like, there's always with the slime one, where the slime rises up. Where a couple times we started, like, literally next door to him, or virtually next door to him. Perhaps what we should have done is just gone and grabbed them and held them.
Grabbed them and held them in so they couldn't win.
And then get eliminated. Probably wouldn't have worked, but at least we could have tried.
Yeah, for sure.
But until they sort the cheater problem out...
I think that, Fall Guys, I think, is done for me at this point. Really fun game, but ruined by a handful of cheaters.
If they sort the cheat...
there's no point playing if you can't win. You
Yeah.
know, the mini games are fun, but you know that there's just going to be someone that's going to put in zero effort.
Yeah. If it wouldn't be so bad if you counted a cheater once in a while, it wouldn't be so bad. But we literally played game after game was, oh, look, there's a cheater in here.
Yeah.
Off they fly. Oh, there's two in this one. They're both flying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh.
I mean, I felt really bad for some of the other players towards the end because there was. Do you remember the match, the hex, the level where the platform is full, so that you get like a beehive grid, and as you jump on the hexagons, they disappear from underneath your feet. And there was a hardcore cheater there, and there was this one guy that had literally lasted minutes in this mini game. Last man standing, other than the cheater, was doing a fantastic job. The cheater had done everything to try and knock him off the platform. I mean, I'd never seen a match go on that long before, so this guy deserved to win.
He did.
But there was just no way. There was actual skill right there in that player. That dude should have won.
He should have done.
Yeah, I started to feel really bad for those kinds of players. The people are actually skilled at the mini games and we're just getting
noticed
stiff.
that in one of the last matches we played, I noticed that as the levels went on, the number of players who got between the football match, you saw towards the end some of the players, the other team players just disappeared. They also thought, "Fuck this," and just quit.
Yeah, it's sad. It just ruins the game. It's ruining the game for the sake of a few cosmetics. Yeah,
I mean, you're not gaining anything. There's no pride in this. There's no fake inputs. It's just, I just don't get it. I don't get why people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Cheating single player games, I frankly don't give a shit about. If you want to, I've done the all weapons cheats in GTA. I don't mind that because sometimes it's fun just to have a little blast around and
for sure.
So it's fine to sometimes it's fine to. I've gone games where I put cheats on just to have a little godmess or just have a little bit of a fun blast. But then usually I don't save.
Yeah.
I'll go back to save before price.
You're not going to cheat to go for a high score run and go, hey, look, I've got the highest score in the world kind of thing.
No.
It's one of those, I just want to dick around, have a laugh, break the game for a bit and be done with it. But then you have these people that jump into multiplayer games who just ruin it for everyone else.
That's it. Once your cheating starts to affect other people, that's when it's a problem. That's when it's you're being a fucking twat.
I say the same thing in general about life. You can do what the hell ever you want as long as you're not negatively impacting other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there's no. I can almost. I don't agree with you, but I can sort of almost understand it when there's something at stake. Like money.
Yeah.
Or like some prestige. I can sort of understand why people would cheat because, well, money's an obvious one, financial reasons an obvious one, and sometimes prestige, some people crave it. But in a game where if you cheat, okay, you just perhaps get slightly higher up with the ranking. You perhaps get slightly higher on the ranking table, but you can't get too high because then the scrutiny gets higher.
Yeah.
So what do you actually achieve at the end of this day? You're not good at the game. You're not going to turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I'm really good at that game," because if anyone ever sees you play the game, they'll know you're not. Yeah,
it's like when you get like, oh, hey, let's join the MLG Fall Guys team. We'll take the top 10 guys in the world. And it turns out they're all cheaters because they can't play the game for shite.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing you see like when you see, semi-professional, professional COD players and they'll end up on stream and they've got like, wall hacks on. Wall hacks and aimbots. They can see where everyone is. It's like, come on, man. You're supposed to represent the community and all you're doing is cheating.
But who's watching them thinking, hey, aren't these guys cool?
Well, someone's going to watch and think, oh, look, he's dominating the match and how... the troll mentality, I'm winding everyone up, therefore it must be cool. Or how funny must it be to piss everyone else off? That kind of groove.
Yeah. I mean, again, everybody's done it to some point. Everybody's had a point in their life where they've done that, or occasionally will do something like, oh, this is going to annoy everybody. But generally it's harmless. When other people get made angry... When you're waiting for there's a threshold for annoying people, but not actually making them angry is fine.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not repetitive. But because everybody's done that at some point. Everybody's like for a laugh, does something
everyone's
like that.
been a dick for a laugh. That's fair, I suppose.
That's fair. But when you just do it to, I think you're somehow cool for doing it. Particularly if it's a game that you don't like, you just go out just to mess around with other people just for the fact, oh, I hate this game, I'm just going to go mess around and upset other people because it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It amuses you, but that's because you're just a narcissistic twat. You know, everybody else thinks you're. Everybody else hates you. You think you're great, but no one else does.
Yeah.
So I just it drives me insane. It's why I prefer my multiplayer games more along the lines of like co-op PvE.
Yeah.
Because if one person in your team cheats, you can call them out on it. Or if you're cheating, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it just for the fun, that's fine. But it's when you're going up against other players who haven't got that opt-in.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes a fucking issue.
That's humanity for you, mate. I'm afraid.
But yeah, Fall Guys Cheated Edition is launched on the channel. As you can see, all the fucking twats out there. Yeah, Fall Guy 1499.
So much hatred just burnt into your mind.
It was real like, oh, fuck with this. I'm not doing this anymore. So, but we'll try something. We're going to try something else, and so we'll find out from there.
Yeah.
So, Skazz,
Yes,
how have you been playing, Skazz?
I got a fantastic donation recently from a dear friend. Yeah, it was fantastic, right?
Do I know him?
Yeah, you do. Great guy. Chap we both know. Who we care for fucking deeply. Who without him this podcast wouldn't be a thing, right? You might know him, Ram, right? His name's Ram or Nick.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And he recently upgraded his VR headset.
Did he?
And he says to me, right, he goes, "Hey, Skazz, mate, do you want a VR headset?" And I was like, sure. And so that's the story of me getting a VR headset.
Hey.
And it's been really fun. So I've only had it for like about a week. You gave it to me about a week ago, right?
Not exactly a week, actually. So.
Oh, sure, there you go. You came around, you helped me set it up. We tried setting up on my laptop first because that seemed like it was going to be the more reasonable device to set up because I could set up a bigger play space.
Yeah.
Which actually at the moment I now have it set up on the PC, which has
cool.
helped me encounter a weird glitch, but I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, you helped me set it up and you kind of guided me through the initial experiences. Because if anyone doesn't know, when we first spoke about VR on the Rand Nerds podcast, one of the main things that concerned me about VR was that I'm blind in one eye. And so I wasn't actually entirely sure how well VR would work. And you have been trying to push for me to try a VR headset for quite a while.
I've invited you around so many times.
you have, but I'm an antisocial dick, you know that.
Yeah. It's probably worth mentioning before we go on what I gave was the Rift CV1, which is the first consumer version of the Rift. So you've still got your base stations, you've still got whereas Robin knows the Rift S, which hasn't got that. But we're not talking Vive or anything here. It's just probably worth mentioning it's a Rift CV1.
Sure. Generation 1 Rift, the ones that came out after the
2016, I think it came out.
Oh, was it? I don't know. The ones that came
15,
out after
16,
the weird old
like
beta editions, but
yeah,
help me set it up. And as I say, I was a little concerned about the whole, bad vision, because I'm blind in one eye and my good eye is slowly but surely getting worse. And you know what? Fucking works a treat. Absolutely works a treat. Now I don't know if maybe I'm having some issues in some games because of like a lack of depth perception or vision through one of my eyes, but I'll go into that. But all in, fucking fantastic. The immersion, fantastic. Setup was pretty simple once we followed the instructions.
Like these aren't right, and I kept just started not actually looking properly. That was my fault because I should have read the screen.
Yeah, just
properly.
like adjusting the base stations to try and get it to detect the control pads, and it's not working. It's not working. On my second attempt on setting it up, got it like first try every single time. It's
But the mistake we made, didn't we? We made a mistake with angling too far in.
Yeah. So
you've got like two sensors with like a field of view, and and we angled them too far in, so they weren't overlapping.
Yeah, they didn't make a direct, like, a straight edge box, did they?
No.
The back, the arse end of the sensors was crossing over, and it was like, no, we're not having that. Because you can't realistically draw a square and have us actively track. So like what was basically happened was, like, the outer edge of the tracking of both of the sensors were crossing over each other, and they should never do that, because if not, you'll obviously never be able to draw a square, because if the back end of your square is going to be outside of the tracking field, then it's just not going to work. But
it's counterintuitive, actually, when you talk about it. It's right. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, sure. But setup's relatively simple. The headset setup for comfort is pretty solid. It's all right. It's got some nice little speakers on the side. And I dove straight in. I'd already bought some VR games on a Steam sale ages ago, because I thought, I'd like to get a VR headset at some point. Just I couldn't ever justify buying one, but I bought a few cheap games, and so for the last week, I've primarily been playing shooters and experimenting with, like, different movements and stuff like that. Because I don't actually have a very big play space, and either of the two play spaces I've set up, I don't have a huge amount of room to move. Like, if I take more than a step forwards, I'm going to kick or hit something.
Yeah.
So the Guardian, which comes up in your vision to tell you when you're about to go over your play area, because you set up a play area, that is almost always on my screen to say, by the way, you're now about to, like, hit something, or you're moving out of the way or whatever. That's almost always on screen, but. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. So, as I said, I've been playing shooters. The two shooters I've been playing were A-Tech Cybernetic, and Superhot VR. And so Superhot VR is neat in that it's kind of a first-person puzzle game. You don't really move in Superhot as such. Time moves as you do. And the object is to basically kill enemies that come at you on screen. So it's a puzzle game in that you basically have to find the best way to take out the enemies without them taking you out. They'll always come from the same space. So it's like, do I have to take out this guy? Because if I go for the two guys in front of me and a guy comes up to the left, well, he's going to fire at me, and then I've got to figure out. It's basically crowd control. It's a first-person shooter crowd control game, and it's kind of neat, time manipulation. So if I have to pick up a gun, I have to move my hand. If I move my hand, time moves forwards, and the enemies shoot at me. If I try and dodge a bullet, well, then obviously time starts moving forwards. So then, say another character might shoot at me or rush me or whatever. It's neat, and it takes place in a VR space too.
Yeah,
which is cool. That one was neat.
Can I just ask something about that? So you say time moves when you move. Is that any movement at all, or is it only
very light movement if you don't move? So there is still, like, bullets will still move at you if you're not moving, but at such a slow pace, it almost seems like there's nothing going on.
No, what I mean is the other way about what's sort of threshold for you moving.
Oh, no, literally, if you just, like, move your hands just a little bit, if you start, like, wiggling about or kind of shifting your hips and that about, the level will start to move. So, even just, like, moving your hand, to, like, look at a gun or whatever is enough to warrant the other players moving. Imagine you've got a vinyl on a record player, and the music is only playing if you spin your finger along it. There's no actual motor in the record player. The music is only going to play as you're moving your finger. It's that kind of groove and super hot. The characters are only realistically going to come at you whilst you're faffing around with your hands, your legs, your shoulders, whatever. As whilst you're moving, you can just be looking left and right. That is enough to get the other players to move. And the faster you move, or the more you move, the faster they move. And so there are times where you have to, like, say, for example, if you're going to shoot a guy, and it looks like he's running ahead, you can't just fire and stand still and it hit, because obviously your bullet isn't going to move either unless you move. So if he's running to the left, you have to aim and anticipate where he's going to be and shoot ahead of him. All shots have to have lead in, which is kind of neat. You can throw objects, you can snatch objects from enemies, you can punch enemies, you can knock things out of the air as well. So let's say, for example, if I've got a gun and someone shoots at me, I can literally kind of freeze on the spot, slowly move my hand around, and then kind of tap the bullet out of the air. Just little things like that. It's a game you really have to play to understand, but it's really, 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 really fun. As I say, not a whole lot of movement, so you don't have to worry about motion sickness or anything. And it was probably the first VR game I played that actually made me think this isn't like every other shooter or every other game. So like, so two examples of this, and the first one is from Superhot. If an enemy is shooting at me and I don't want to get hit, duck.
Yeah.
Just duck. There's a wall in front of you. Kneel down behind it. The enemies can't get you. That's not something that you generally do in a regular shooter.
No.
You know, in a regular shooter, if the game doesn't give you the option to shoot over a wall, you can't shoot over the wall.
Yeah.
But in VR, your arms are completely separate from your body. So if you duck and you can reach your hand over the wall, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You don't even have to look in the direction of where you're shooting either, which is fantastic. Really helps with immersion. In most first-person shooters, you look at the enemy, center screen, and click. Wherever the center of the screen is where your bullet's going to go. In VR, that's not the case. And that's where A-Tech Cybernetic comes in. How fun it is to be aiming with... So you can dual wield in A-Tech. I could have a pistol in one hand or a shotgun in one hand and a pistol in the other. And let's say, for example, I'm pistoling down enemies in front of me. I can then tilt the shotgun to my side, pull the trigger, and just wipe out anything that's sneaking up on me because I hear them in the earpiece. So it's like I can hear an enemy, say, coming from my right-hand side. Just wing the shotgun to my right, keep looking forwards, pull the trigger, and bam, the problem's gone. I didn't even have to look.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing is really cool in VR. A-Tech Cybernetic.
It changed how you interact with a game. It completely changed how you interact with a game and deal with it and so forth.
Initially, I was like, this is kind of gimmicky, isn't it? But it's fucking amazing. I mean, I spent I think I must have played 2 hours plus of Superhot in the first night. Like failing over and over and over and over again. But it was just so fun. I will say one gripe I have with Superhot is literally that if I'm not moving, the other characters don't move. So sometimes I find myself just doing a little dance on screen. Like I'm doing a little dance in my living room trying to get the time to move forward so that I can say maybe punch an enemy or grab something. I think at that point though, in some cases it's maybe that I'm not assessing the environment properly. Because say sometimes there might be a weapon to my left hand side or my right hand side that I haven't noticed, or a bottle down by my foot, and if I had have reached down to grab that weapon, time would have moved enough for the enemy to have been right in my face. But little things. I don't mind standing there doing a little jig in my house just to get time to move forwards. And A-Tech Cybernetic's an interesting one because, as I say, you've got the dual wheel mechanic. That one is almost like Doom in VR. How you'd imagine Doom to be if it was in VR. You can walk around, and it will actually walk around. So it's not like teleport movement. There is an option for teleport movement, but you can WASD walk around styly.
What I noticed from your play as well, which I thought was quite neat, is that most games which have that sort of movement style, you have to pick which one you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed you actually had both options.
Yeah.
You could teleport on the right analog stick, but move normally on the left.
Yes.
That's quite neat, actually. It's quite different.
So what I ended up doing was, because I ended up with a sensor issue in A-Tech. So initially it was set up so that I could move with my left stick, teleport with my right stick, and I would turn with my actual physical body. But I found myself getting tangled up with the headset cable, and that if I turned too far to the left or the right, the sensors in my living room would stop tracking my handset. So all of a sudden, where I'm aiming at this enemy, all of a sudden my gun will end up right behind my head.
Yeah, that does happen with the outside-in tracking. You can actually, it doesn't come up before, but you can actually add a third sensor. You need to have because also you have to extend it, you're on extension lead, but you'll need a powered USB to do it. So it has to be because it's got to amplify the signal. But you can add a third sensor, which you literally just plonk. You know, not necessarily directly behind you, but sort of behind you, and that basically eliminates that issue.
That would be fantastic for me, because I will admit that was kind of annoying. But what I did to fix it was because I didn't want to use teleport movement. I mean, there are some times in that game where it actually recommends you use teleport movement, because you can... There are some areas that are blocked off, okay? So like, let's say there's boxes in front of the door, but there's like, say it needs 4 boxes to block the door, but you've got an L shape in boxes, so you can just see inside the room, but you can't actually physically get in the room. The game will actually tell you, we've got a special suit on that allows us to teleport, okay? Because that's how they kind of explain the mechanics that you're using in the game. Like, if you click and hold, I can teleport a gun that you can see on the floor into your hand, kind of thing. It's all because of this super magic special high-tech suit. That's how teleporting is explained. And so if you teleport past those boxes, you can teleport into the room that's blocked off. So as long as there's a gap and you can see inside, you can teleport in. But yeah, I chose to use just basic movement, and I went into the options and set so regular movement on my left stick, and I changed my right stick from teleport to the same kind of movement that my head would do. So like left and right movement, and well, basically that was just like left and right movement. So I could press forwards on one stick and left and right on the other stick, and my character would move around in 3D space like you would a regular shooter.
Is that snap turns like Valve games do, where you sort of snap?
No, I had it set to smooth.
Yeah,
I had it set to smooth, which was funny because I remember you telling me about VR motion sickness.
I suffer from, unfortunately.
Oh my God, I actually physically felt myself lean backwards as I started moving initially. So one of the demos you set me up with was an option to look over the edge of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had VR kind of hit me in the chest, as if like the fear factor actually kicked in that I was about to fall off the edge of a building. The only way that would have been any fucking more like is if someone had put on a fan in the room to have like wind blow over my face. And that would have just completely blown my mind. But in A-Tech, I set up the movement like that, and I started moving around, and I actually started to physically feel my body try to counter as if I was about to fall over. Like as if I was trying to counterbalance. And after about 3/4 of an hour, I started to get a bit motion sick. Now, I wasn't entirely sure if it was motion sickness or just if I was feeling queasy, because I'm going to be honest, I've not been feeling all that great the last couple weeks. But it's a weird, very, very weird feeling to know that your feet are anchored to the floor, but your eyes and your head is still moving around in 3D space, as it were.
Yeah. It's basically seasickness. It is your brain is saying it's basically your brain is saying you're moving, but your physical sense, your other sense is saying no, we're not. And there's it's the disagreement.
Yeah.
That causes it. It's the same with seasickness. Seasickness when you're on a boat, you can feel the boat moving, but it's so large, your brain says no, you're not.
Yeah.
That's what causes that. So it's the same principle in VR, and I suffer terribly from. I'm sort of trying to desensitize them. You can. They do say if you do it like a bit at a time, you will gradually desensitize yourself to it. Or worst case scenario, you can actually get over the counter drugs that will actually basically suppress the feeling.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with altitude sickness, isn't it? You know, you can get stuff for that too. But I'll be honest, it wasn't too bad. And as I say, I'm not actually entirely sure if it was just me feeling unwell throughout the week, whatever. But
I know most people who try VR do suffer from motion, at least initially. So potentially the former.
It was fantastic either way. Even if it made me feel a little bit queasy, it was fantastic to actually move around in 3D space and have to interact with objects, because, as I say, A-Tech's a bit more traditional first-person shooter, so you've got like 2 holsters on your belt, and so if you look down at your waist, you can see where the guns are clipped to your belt. You've got like 3 grenade slots on your chest. So you have to reach to your chest to grab a grenade.
That's cool.
You have a torch that straps to your chest as well, so you can grab your torch. And then you can also use like the teleport mechanic, as I say, where you can go, you pull in the inside trigger, and that will bring up like a wheel, like a selection wheel. And you can then say, well, I've already picked up a machine gun, so teleport a machine gun into my hand or onto my belt. And then that will allow you to kind of quick change between weapons. Or you could literally go, I've got 2 guns on my belt, shotgun, machine gun. Well, I'm going to hold a pistol in my hand as well. And then you can just go, oh, well, now I want the shotgun. So then you grab the shotgun off your belt, put the pistol in the holster, fire. Oh, now I need the machine gun. Grab the machine gun, put the shotgun away, fire, fire, fire. It's really, really neat. And as I say, the fact that I don't have to look where I'm shooting just makes you feel like a god sometimes. When you know that you're getting rushed by enemies, you quickly turn around to shoot one guy and then point your gun back behind you to take out another one. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I think another thing that people tend to forget with VR, particularly those sort of shit games, is actually how physically exhausting it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it after like particularly another game which I suggest, which is a Oculus exclusive, which was one of the very early games, is called Robo Recall.
I have that now.
Yeah, and it basically plays very similar to if you play it, it's very similar to an old school rail shooter, except obviously you're not on rails. That's teleport only. But that because you're ducking, because you're getting sort of monsters robots coming from all sides, you're ducking and diving. I found quite physically exhausting.
Yeah.
You have to after a couple hour play session, it's like I'm done for the night now. I'm ready to go to bed. So
I might have to try that because a few people have told me about how some VR games can be really, physically draining. I've not had that issue yet, but I would like it to be. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah, it's almost like a little exercise regime.
Yeah,
but a fun one.
Yeah,
yeah. So,
but every experience I've had in VR so far has been fun, with the exception of maybe losing tracking and feeling a little bit queasy.
Yeah, that's where that's where the snap turns help. And you say tracking is the downside of the first version. Well, Rift is the tracking was its sort of Achilles heel, which they then improved in the Rift S, which has got what they call inside-out tracking.
That's based on the idea that the headset has cameras on it
has 6 cameras on it. Yeah,
sure, to detect LEDs on the control pad. Is that right?
I don't know how it sees your. I don't know how it sees your. I think that's what the Vive used to do to see your controllers. I'm not sure how the Rift S does it.
Okay.
But it seems to because it does. It can see them if you put them behind. It can do the same thing where if you put them sort of behind, you can still know where they are. So I suspect there's a bit of. I would imagine there's a bit of looking for them, and also there's probably a bit of internal on the actual controls. I imagine there's probably some internals on it that can actually, got set of trials they can guess where, like, do a bit of dead reckoning to work out where they are.
Yeah, sure.
I'd imagine it's something like that. I'd guess like that. So, perhaps move on to because I've been playing the Rift S with the Gapple games. So the difference between the Rift S and the CV1, as it's got inside-out tracking. So you set up differently. So CV1, you have to set up base stations, which then track your headset and your controllers. What you do with the Rift S is when you put it on, it basically shows you the camera's view. It shows like a black and white view of your surroundings, but grayscale. It's obviously gone through some motion processing to sort of like as it sees it. So it's like a really pixelated, almost like a really like a sort of damaged videotape look. Not deliberate. It's just how it is. So what you do is it shows you your play space, and what you do first of all, you set your ground plane. So you grab it shows like a floor plane. You grab it, and you push it down to where your floor is, and then you have like a laser pin on your laser, and you point at the ground where the edge of the room is, and you draw the room. Okay. So it's actually easier to set up than it's actually easier to set those perimeters up than the Rift, because the Rift you have to sort of like hold your controller where the edge of your space is. Yeah. and that's actually surprisingly hard to do. If you've got a slightly larger area, that's surprisingly hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a lot easier because you can just see, you can just draw a picture.
Yeah,
And it works. It's very, very. It's actually about a 5-minute job to set it up.
Sure.
Which is kind of neat. One thing I have discovered with it though is it's very dependent on your lighting.
Okay.
So it doesn't work. You can't use it in a dark environment because it needs to be able to see.
Sure.
So they say you can't use it in a dark environment. Also, we found out because I was playing it last week. I said to myself, "You've got to try this game. You'll like this game." And what the difference was when I'm playing artificial light like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
When I brought it in, we were using natural light. It was bright, it was light, but obviously your colours are different.
Okay.
And the Rift had no idea where everything was. I had to reset it up again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so because it couldn't work out because effectively all the colours had changed. It couldn't obviously work out where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, so as long as I keep the lighting the same, it works fine.
Sure.
But again, resetting up is like once you've done it once, that little bit there takes literally about a minute to do once you've done it the first time.
Yeah.
It's so quick. It's not really a massive deal, but it's something to bear in mind. That's one of its downsides.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I have to say I was a bit dubious about the inside-out tracking because I read on some earlier views that tracking wasn't as accurate as the old Rift because it has used this inside-out tracking. Then they apparently released a patch a few months ago that basically fixed it.
Okay.
And I have to say, I'm very impressed with how good the tracking is. It hasn't missed a beat. It hasn't lost anything at all. If it has, it hasn't been noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressed. And the fact that you can just turn around and so forth. And I mean, have you found situations where like you're in the Rift, you're sort of playing a game, you saw that you have to stop, lift the heads up. It's like, I don't remember pointing in this direction.
Loads of times in A-Tech. I didn't originally have that issue, but like all my family were out for an afternoon, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dick about in VR for a bit, and I was like, right, look forwards, look at the screen, go, no problem. And all of a sudden, I was like, hey, my guns are losing tracking again. What's going on here? And it turns out I'd actually spun completely round on the spot.
Yeah,
without realizing.
Yeah.
Which actually, just speaking of base stations and setting up, that was actually one of my glitches. So when I set up my base stations in this room that I'm in now, which is my middle room, so it's connected up to my PC, the base stations are set on opposite sides of my monitor, directly in front of me. Okay? But in the Rift software and in the calibration setup, for some reason, imagine grabbing both of those base stations and then moving them to the right and to an angle. So like stand on the spot, put your hands in front of yourself like this, so like as if you're touching a wall, right?
Yeah.
Now turn yourself, say, I don't know, 45 degrees, right? That is how the Rift sees my sensors.
Interesting.
They still track just fine. There's nothing I seem to be able to do to get them to realise that's not where they are. Because every time I've tried to recalibrate it or reset it up, it has always done the same thing.
I mean, at the end of the day, if it works,
yeah, for sure. I'm not going to complain about it.
It's more of a niggle than anything.
Yeah, it was a weird little thing that I was like, that's not how you're set up. I'm wondering if it's because I've got a massive ass open window right by one of the sensors.
Could be.
But it's all in. It's still good. Still works. Just an odd little hiccup I've had with it. Also, I wish I could set my height in games more rather than the Rift software so that I could maybe sit down and play some games.
Yeah, that is an issue. Most get a lot of newer games I've played anyway, they tend to have a reset command that resets your position.
Mm-hmm.
So like you say, okay, where I am now is where I'm sitting, or just literally drop you down. Because I had this issue when because a friend wanted to see me play Elite Dangerous with a Rift.
Yeah.
And he literally sort of messaged me through Steam. And he's like, are you playing VR? I said, yeah, come and it's not what it looks like. And I said, I tried broadcast via Steam, can't do it at VR games. I said, right, give me a sense. I literally sat there with a Rift on my head. The game was already loaded up. I was already about to play it. Set up on OBS, set up a quick sort. I managed to sort of get a quick setup because it was basically on Steam, it displays to your second monitor. I got displayed to my second monitor, so it's set up as my screen capture. I just broadcast that.
Yeah.
And I go and say, just watch this, and I go to broadcast. Of course, you see what he couldn't talk to me because I couldn't see what he said.
Yeah.
But we then launched up Elite Dangerous. Now, because my play space is central in my room, but most of my computer's sort of in the corner.
Yeah.
When I know Elite Dangerous, I was like, oh, I can see my ship. Where's the menu screen? And I just looked over my shoulder. I could see the back of the menu screen. Also, like slight angles, because it's like it assumed I was going to be in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
I managed to get the game loaded up, and then I found I was actually sitting sort of outside my ship.
Oops.
So I could look over my shoulder and see my disembodied corpse on the controls. Because in Elite Dangerous, if you look at, you're basically a body without a head.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get him to look up, because obviously I couldn't do it really easy. I said, mate, just look up how to reset my head. And in Elite Dangerous, you press F12.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And it just instantly resets you back. And I did that. Oh, I'm back exactly where I need to be. Marvellous. Off we go.
Sure.
So some games have concluded that. I said, but otherwise, you have to sort of set up in the Rift software. I say it tends to be the older games that suffer from that. Because they haven't been. I think nowadays, most people have got wiser. Because you got to think people were learning.
Yeah.
Some were exploring the idea of what you could do with VR better than others. And you can notice it's definitely noticeable the teams who spent more time with it. There, unfortunately, were a lot of shitty VR games when they first came up because people didn't quite know how to make it work with VR, quite how to integrate it with VR, and it comes up a bit shitty. So, but so far you've had a good experience. I'm glad you've had a good experience.
It's been fantastic, mate.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I'm finally getting a chance to play the VR games that I bought. And some of the other games that I have, as you mentioned, like Elite Dangerous, Euro Truck Simulator, stuff like that, have VR features in them. And I think those would be really fun to try with it. So
we need to go trucking.
Yeah, we do. I need to get a wheel at some point and we can go drive. We can go drive. But how are you finding... So have you played any games on the Rift that you've also launched on the Rift S and you're like, oh, hang on, this is better now? Or
Yes, yeah,
okay.
I have. So I launched Robo Recall on the Rift S again, just to see. So in the early version of the Rift, they get what they call this screen door effect, which is basically if you sort of look closely enough at the sort of the screen, you can sort of see the gap around the pixels. And it's almost like you're looking through mesh.
Yeah.
That's why I call it the screen door effect. It's like looking through a screen door at something.
Yeah.
And that's basically just simply a resolution situation. It's not the new Rift S resolution is a lot tighter. So when you look through it, and I can't say I notice it anymore. It might be, I think if you look really close, you can make it out but it's definitely really not noticeable. I also found I had a lot of trouble in the old Rift actually getting it lined up with my eyes. So it looked in focus. And even when it's right, it's still a little bit blurry.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have the same issue.
Rift S, it's pretty much, once you get it set up, it's legible. You can read stuff now. Because that's the other issue you will find. If you play a game which has had like VR support added to it, but not like properly been designed around it, or they've not thought about it, you might have situations where you want to get text on, you can't quite read it.
Yeah, I've had that. So I got a third-party app to allow me to read Twitch chat. And what it would basically do is capture a window and then say I could overlay it somewhere on my screen. And so I would anchor my Twitch chat to, say, my left wrist. So cool. as I was streaming, you would see in-game there's an overlay of my Twitch chat on my wrist. And so occasionally, kind of like if someone were to send me a message, I would then look at my wrist and then I could read it. But as you say, because I suppose it's set up more for the newer headsets, the text is so fuzzy that unless I literally hold the text chat right up to my eyes, I can't read a damn thing.
Yeah.
It's the same when I bring up the Oculus Home. And, you know, they have like a clock in the corner.
Yeah.
That thing looks blurry as hell. And my eyes aren't fantastic, so I've even managed to put my glasses on underneath underneath the headset.
Have you? I never could achieve that. Unfortunately, I've got two big heads, obviously.
It's not fantastic. It does help, but it's hard. It's hard to read. Even stuff that is kind of tuned for it, it's hard to read.
That is a downside of CV1. That is simply a resolution issue. There's not a lot, unless they make the text quite big.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot that you can do about it. And that's why I said you definitely notice it in games where they thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in Elite Dangerous, most of the text is pretty big in most cases, so you can read it even with that sort of situation. But
well, I mean, they had VR support in Elite Dangerous since the beta Rift headsets, didn't they?
Yeah, they've really, I think, because it's such an obvious game for VR, I think they've really pushed it because it does cool things like in normal Elite Dangerous, when you want to look at your computer, you press the sort of left look button on the kit on the field, you just spin around, you look at the screen. Rift, you just look round, but the computers still open up as you look at them. So as you look around, the computer models will open up. Yeah, and you can then interact with it there, which is really cool. You can you do feel like it's weird because it does feel like when you're looking around because you find yourself just glancing up at the corner of your screen, just saying, what am I doing here? Okay, yeah, that's right, that's good. Yeah, it feels cool. So it's cool. But so that is another noticeable advantage of the Rift S is that it's just a little bit clearer, a little bit crisper.
Does the Rift S have earpieces, or do you have to plug in your own headphones?
No, so it has basically. So the Rift S has been designed because one of the markets that I think they advertised to, but took off quite well was corporate. Okay. So I'm not talking about corporate gaming. I'm talking about people like architects. Yeah. So if you're an architect, you could design a building for a client and literally say, "Hey, come on, put on this headset, and you can look around the building and see what we're going to do." And you can the client can actually look over the railings, that sort of stuff. They have a little look around the building, which is a nifty idea. Yeah. I think even some programs now support it. I think SketchUp actually has a built-in functionality. You can add VR points around SketchUp, I believe. I may have misremembered that, but I have a vague feeling that's the case. So it's cool that way. So, but obviously, one of the problems with one of the issues we haven't mentioned with Rift, and this is all VR headsets, is they are quite a solo experience. Yeah. Because once you're on, you're sort of in your own little cocoon. You got your headset on your thing, and if someone is in the room with you, you have to really sort of listen to them. You have to talk over because it's like playing a game of headphones on. Yeah. It's a bit. Whereas, so what they did with Rift S is they took away those headsets, and so you've got speakers. Oh, okay. Now, what a lot of people do, I've actually got some here, is they buy a set of headphones like this, and I'm holding up some over-the-ear headphones that hook over your ears, and they'll basically cable time. Position them right, and they'll cable time because the Rift S has got a built-in audio jack. Okay, cool. So you can cable tie it all up and plug it in, and that became. And basically, at that point, it just looks like an old CV1 Rift. Yeah. I thought I'm just going to try it without, just to see what it's like. And to be honest with you, I've not noticed it being that bad. I'm probably quite lucky because I've got quite a quiet environment. So I suspect it might be worse in a noisier environment, but I can't say I've actually had any issues with those headphones. And to be honest, to the point where I don't even think I'm not wearing headphones. Sure. Because basically it's got speakers all round it, so it blasts out to you, but not into actual headphones. So I can't say no, and it works quite well. I've been pleasantly surprised how well it works. Yeah. So that's one of the sort of little differences. I would say, as far as saying it's a very solid experience, I do often find myself being dicked about whilst I'm in VR. So my family will just purposely come up to me and troll me. Yeah. Whilst I'm in VR. Which I just want to throw out there is actually quite dangerous because one of my family members was speaking to someone else who has got VR. And just a word of warning, guys, if you see someone in VR, don't be a twat and stand in front of them and start pulling faces and stuff like that, because you don't know what's going on in that game. And I'm telling you now, the other person can't see you. So if they throw a punch or go to grab something, you are going to get hurt. Get out of the play space. Yeah. Yes. It's not the player's fault if you get knocked the fuck out. No, and that's absolutely right. It is you have to be a little bit sensible. So I tend to I'm quite lucky. I've got an actual area all by myself, so I can sort of close the door. I know I've got no dogs going to come to disturb me. I know people want to come disturb me, and I'm okay. But yeah, if you live in a family house, it's probably quite. You have to be quite careful what times you pick to do it, particularly when kids around, because kids don't quite understand. Don't approach Daddy; he's in his virtual world again.
Yeah.
So
my problem has actually been grown-ups.
Yeah.
And as I say, I've had a conversation with folks, and some folks I know I've had conversations with other folks where literally like one of their friends has been trolling them in VR, standing around pulling faces in front of them, and it was mentioned that the friend or the person in VR literally just punched the guy square in the face, like just curled a fist and just like put him on his ass, and the friendship kind of broke down at that point. It's like, what did you hit me for? And it's like, I'm playing a game. I can't see you.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have been standing in my play space. Like literally, he had to get the guy to believe him. He had to get him to put the headset on to show, I really cannot see you. You can be stood in front of me. You think it's funny to be pulling faces in front of me, but I can't see you. And if something jumps out in front of me, I'm not jumping at you. I'm not reacting at you. I'm reacting at what's going on in the game.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. I'm always, whenever I put people in, I've put a few different people in VR, and I always make sure, basically like that, I respect the play space. Or if I'm going to approach them, I'll say to them, if I did to you, I'm coming for you from your right, you're going to feel me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's because of that reason, because you don't, you can just make, if someone just touch you on the shoulder, you can just jump because you're not if you're not expecting it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I always make a point of saying, okay,
your senses are a little heightened. Your IRL senses are a bit heightened because all of a sudden your brain your brain is like, oh my god, what is going on? And every little thing going on in your IRL environment is just
I have to say it's a bit of courtesy as well. I'm going to touch you on your shoulder. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Just watch out and so forth. And I've always made that point when I play VRs. And occasionally I've had to sort of like, I had one person I put on, and I go on to play the Dreamscapes, which is one of the free little apps you get. And it's basically just a little show off.
Yeah.
That's when we have like this wooded scene, the building you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. The skyscraper, I think, yeah.
With a bit where an alien, you basically get teleported in front of an alien. It's just to show off the quality of the like facial stuff they can do. And I had a friend round, and I forgot to mention that to him. And all of a sudden, he was like sort of looking down at the ground, and that because he's looking at the sort, I think it goes woodland, skyscraper, then alien. I can't remember where he went. Or one. Basically, he wasn't looking where the alien was. He went down the ground, then he teleports in, and he sees the base and looks up and see Ryan says alien face, and he freaks out.
Yeah, I get
you. He wasn't expecting that, and I had to sort of like literally say, "Oh," I just grab my shoulder and say, "Don't worry, it's okay. Sorry, I should have warned you about that. I forgot. I'm really sorry."
I didn't have a huge problem with that, and I'm going to warn some people about A-Tech. A-Tech does the same kind of thing. So, like, it will purposely try and shit you up, but it will do it in such an obvious gamer way. Like, oh, look, a door is open. Bam! Something really big is right in front of your face and about to bite you. It's like, I always expect that kind of thing to happen. Yeah. So a game doesn't surprise me, but A-Tech does that too. All of a sudden you're in a pitch black area, you've got a torch in your hand because the game tells you to take a torch. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to start trying to throw some jump scares at me.
That sounds atmospheric.
All of a sudden, you can hear, like, I don't know, my footsteps are getting louder and louder on this metal flooring. There's sparks and things that are lighting up parts of the area that I'm not flashing the torch at, kind of thing. I see a door covered in gore. I go to open it and this fucking thing jumps out at me and I'm like, oh, look, I didn't see that coming. Pulls out pistol, shoots it in the face. And the narrator's like, oh my god, I didn't realize we were making stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I saw that coming from a fucking mile off, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just figured I'd warn people as well. Just get out of the play space. People. There's a guardian system for a reason. Imagine when the old Wii came out and people were smashing their TV sets and stuff. Same thing. Just the thing is, you're gonna have someone actively punching you in the face. It's not gonna be an accident. Just be respectful of the play area. Get out of it. Like when you jumped into VR here, I made sure I was out of the play area because the headset isn't going to tell you when I'm stood in the play area.
No.
It's going to tell you when you're at the edge of the area that you've assigned. It has no idea that there's something stood right in front of you. So don't.
I can almost see perhaps later versions, like with the inside-out tracking, which uses the cameras. I could see them going to a stage they could start to warn you.
Yeah.
Because they can obviously see a change.
Put like a wireframe thing in front of your vision if an object comes up.
Yeah, like a cylinder or spear. So there's something here that we weren't expecting. Watch out for it. Mm-hmm. And then when you punch him, you can't claim that you didn't know he was there.
No, that's too sad because I'll do it anyway.
Yeah. Oh no! I didn't realise you were there. How do you hit me exactly in the face? I didn't realise. I'm sorry. Oh, I've got you in the groin. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Repeatedly fisting them in the groin. That's what you get. So you were saying like you launched up games between the Rift and the Rift S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was noticeably better. It's definitely an upgrade. I was a bit dubious about getting it, but I am definitely glad I did.
Okay.
So one of the games I've played, this Rift games I've played, is I've been playing a game called I Expect You to Die.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's basically a Bond-esque game, where you're a spy. So perhaps something else worth mentioning about games in the Rift. They come in basically, there's two different categories. First is what they call the scale category. So you've got sitting, which is where you're sitting at something. Mm-hmm. So Elite Dangerous, Euro Truck are sitting games. Standing, which means you're staying in one place and you don't move around. You sort of teleport about or whatever happens, you don't have to move. And there's room scale, which is where you have an area which you can move around. You still probably can do some sort of teleportation, but you're in a room and you can move around it and so forth.
Yeah.
So I Expect to Die is a sitting-based game.
Okay.
So what I did was I wheeled my chair to the centre of my play space, sat down, and loaded up. So it's based on sort of early Bonds, sort of 60s, 70s Bonds films, style-wise. You're an agent, and you basically have a little series of missions, and you'll begin a little briefing about what you've got to do, and then you'll just jump into the mission, and you will find yourself sat down somewhere. And you're basically in an environment, and it's like an escape room. You have to sort of get out. So I'll talk you through the first mission as an example. So the first mission is you have to steal a car that's in a plane, and the car's been equipped with a massive parachute. So if it gets out of the plane, it's fine, but you've got to get it out of the plane.
Okay.
That's your mission. So you load up the car, you're in the car. So the environments are quite detailed. There's a lot of stuff to sort of fiddle with and explore. And it's worth it. Being a special secret agent, you've got a teleport ability. So something's out, if you reach, you can just teleport it to you.
Yeah.
Which is fairly common.
A-Tech does that a lot.
Yeah, most games have that. Half-Life Alyx has gravity gloves, which is basically the exact same thing. They allow you to pull stuff towards you. Because actually, sometimes it's quite tricky to pick stuff up.
Yeah,
because you can't necessarily get close enough to it to do it.
I've had that a lot in so certain objects would appear just outside of my play space, or I would reach for something and all of a sudden the Guardian system would come up and kind of break my immersion a bit. The missions or levels where Sister said just hit the button and teleport it to my hand, fantastic. Although I will say, I found that at times those kinds of mechanics have been awkward in that it would, instead of say pick up the ammo off the floor, would then say grab the gun from my holster or something like that when it didn't quite realise what I was going for. But other than that, neat mechanic.
Now, how often have you got to your Guardian space and gone, oh, it's only a little bit over?
Lots. I do that in Superhot all the time. Although I will say, annoyingly in Superhot, if it's too far over my Guardian's kind of space, the game would say, no, that doesn't count. So even if the enemy's face is right by where my fist is at, and I punch it, if my entire hand is outside of the Guardian space, it doesn't register the hit. I have to actually wait for the enemy to come back into the space for it to register the hit.
That's interesting, but perhaps a way to subconsciously train you not to do it.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's like, well, I know it's part of the guy's space. All that's behind me is a small table, which I could trip over. It's not actually high enough. I can just about reach down and pick that thing up. It'll be all right.
That's it.
Oh, no, I've just hit my PC tower.
Oh, no, I've just punched the television set. a child and kicked through the front room window.
Yeah. Why am I in the street?
Oh, damn. What's going on? Why is it wet in here? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh my God! As he stepped outside in his bathrobe.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wear sensible shoes, footwear when you're playing with a Rift game. I think it's a room scale game because you're surprisingly easy to fall over if you're not playing.
Or he just randomly steps on a piece of Lego. There's immersion for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, across this glass room, your friend throws no leg on the floor for you.
It's like, you bastards. In fairness, knowing my friends, that's likely to happen.
Yeah. Don't play Rift games around your friends. It's dangerous.
No.
Let's
Be fair, they're selling these things assuming that you and I don't have friends. And
That's
believe
true.
it or not, folks, we have friends. Ram's my friend.
We might even load up VR chat one day.
We've got to. The opportunity to troll is just too great.
How hard would it be to do a VR chat podcast?
Now, it's funny you mentioned that because I was going to set it up. I was actually going to pose this one to you because you can actually set up a virtual camera in VR chat.
We need to do that. We'll have to.
Do you think we should do that? Do you think because I think you can set up your own private chat rooms. Do you think we should just dick around and set up a VR chat like news studio?
Yeah.
And do an episode of Rand Nerds from VR chat.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We must do this.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. I will say anything that runs through Steam VR seems to be really easy to stream.
It generally is unless Elite Dangerous is a problem because Elite Dangerous has its own built-in VR support, which brings up its own play window.
Okay.
Which Steam doesn't. So most games, you can have an external monitor, and the monitor shows you what Steam sees, so you can just stream from that.
Mm-hmm.
But some games have their own little things. So I had a lot of trouble streaming Elite Dangerous. I had to basically get it to find the active window and all that sort of malarkey.
Sure.
But yeah, is it Unreal based? The VR chat, do you know?
I have no idea.
It's Unreal based. If it's Unreal based, I've got the Unreal editor. I might be able to actually make a studio.
It would. I know that they suggest that you can actually program your own worlds, but I'm not entirely sure what. I can't remember what editor it's using.
I'll have to have a look. Well, this will be a future project.
Yeah.
We'll
I honestly do think though at some point.
We won't promise it for next time. We'll promise it at some point.
I do think at some point we need to just dick around in VR chat for a couple of hours though.
Yeah.
You know, just one evening, just fuck around in VR chat and see what we can do and see how it works, and that'd be kind of rad.
Yeah, I'm interested because you can also on Steam, you can also host rooms on Steam in these different environments. You can invite people into your rooms on Steam as well.
You can go into VR chat without having a VR headset, I've been told.
Oh, really?
They have a desktop mode, so that if you've just got a PC, you can just walk around using WASD and a mouse.
Cool.
So if we ever needed to get people in who don't have VR,
we could have guests.
Yeah, they could still come in and interact with the environment.
We need to set a little background walkway that they can spawn behind us or walk out when we call them through. If you could have different camera angles, that'd be really cool. So you can have
as I say, you can set up virtual cameras.
Oh,
so you can actually set it up on a virtual TV studio. Yeah. You can set all that up.
Oh man!
I was talking to some guys who primarily stream VR chat, and they said, "Yeah, you can just literally set up a camera. You could either set up a camera to be in a fixed position, or you can set up a camera to say lock in front of your face, so you're like a vlog style thing, or you can just literally just walk around in first person view. It's really nifty. It's the opportunities to dick around in a VR space are endless."
Oh, we must try. We'll have to try. So we won't promise it for next time, but at some point before the year is out, we will do a VR Rand Nerds podcast.
That'd be fantastic.
Marvelous. So, I expect to die. Not you personally, just a game.
That's a shame. I was like, oh, do you, Ram? Really?
Oh, he does love me. Expects me to die.
Yay! Finally. So how is it then that you were explaining the first mission then? You've got to get this car out of the plane.
Got this car out of the plane. So So you can look around the car, and the environments are quite interactive. So things like glove boxes, you can open the glove box. You might look around. There's electric windows and so forth, which don't work very because you can't push the car on. So obviously there's no electric yet.
Sure.
You might find some money. So I tend to start by looking around, interact, not touching really anything. Like interact, I'll pick stuff up, but I won't touch anything interactive just in case it does something.
Okay.
Like I hit some secret switch that does something that like activates like a death trap mode or something.
Okay.
Because this has got sudden death basically situation. So if you fuck up and you die, the game restarts right from the start.
Okay.
So got to be a little bit careful. So I look around, pick up all the various bits I can find, put them over, have a look. There's like sort of bits from a manual that give you explanation of how to do things. There's a gun. There's all sorts of bits and pieces you fit. A lot of stuff is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. It's not going to help you achieve what you need to achieve, but it's there to add a bit of flavour. I suppose throw you off the scent a little bit. So I look around. Eventually, I find I eventually one sunrise as a key. Marvelous. I need a key. Pop in the car. Turn the car on. After I've looked around everything. At which point it goes, okay, everything's secure, it's a retina scan, and it lowers this thing, that scans your eyes.
Yeah.
And it says, oh yeah, you're not the right person. Activating defense mode, it starts charging up a laser. You have to sort of duck to the side and shoot the laser.
Okay.
See? It's like, right. I said, okay, not successful. Secondary measures, and it drops a bomb at your feet. So you pick the bomb up, and then you've got to try and find a knife. And I hadn't found a knife. So I'm like, got this bomb in my hand, I'm frantically opening up every drawer I can find looking for a bloody knife. I was like, oh, good. I was like, right, about to cut it. About to cut the top wire, like a house thing. So I found a manual, and it says how to arm your bomb. And I would literally do a bit of rush with the top wire because it says number 1. For house saying, oh, that's how to arm the bomb.
Yeah.
I don't want to arm the bomb. So I cut the bottom wire first and went my way around and disarm it.
Sure.
And it drops down, and it drops a few bits and pieces. So that's immediately the first possible death is averted. So stuck in the car. And I think, right, I need to get out. So the plane door is closed. You can't just open the door because you can't reach the control panel. And there's poison. And for whatever reason, there's poison gas being pumped into the hold. Don't ask why.
Normal flight.
Normal flight. So I'm looking around. I find another piece of the map that says how to reset the weapon systems in the car. So you've got buttons. So to push a button, you literally sort of let your finger point outwards. So in VR games, if you're not playing video games, the controllers mimic how your hands move.
Yeah.
So you have like a grip. So there's like a grip button, which is like your lower 3 fingers gripping something. Then there's like your it's like a trigger button, but it's also used like sort of I always forget the name of the fingers. Is it your index finger? I always forget the name of the finger. This is the one not your thumb. But the one between your lower 3 fingers and your thumb.
Yeah. The index finger, yeah.
And basically, it can tell. Now, most of the controllers in these games are actually smart if they can actually tell when you're just touching them. Mm-hmm. So they can actually tell when you're not actually pushing. You're not pushing a button, they know when you've got your finger on them.
Yeah.
So it can tell when you're pointing. So you can sort of like point your finger and sort of touch things with it. You can push, controls and buttons in the VR world. And then you have your thumb, which also controls your other things. So I try to sort of fire the weapons. It doesn't work. And it says, reset required. There's like a control panel that's screwed on. Mm-hmm. So it's like, right, now I need a screwdriver. So I look around, I could see through the window a screwdriver sat on the side. So I lower the window out, teleport out, grab the screwdriver, quickly put the window up before I get suffocated by the poison gas.
Yeah.
And then you put the screwdriver and you can screw it. Thankfully, it doesn't make you rotate the screwdriver. Because that rotating things is actually severely fiddly, actually. It's one thing they haven't quite got right, I find. Anytime you're required to rotate something, it can't quite work out the motion. So this game's got a few bits where you have to rotate like a safe or something, and it can't quite figure out which direction you're moving your hand in. Okay. It's a bit flaky on that. But I suppose it's because such a fine motion, it probably can't work out what you're doing with the controller. Yeah. So I'll grab a screwdriver and just literally hold it near the screws and just twists it for you, which is thankful. Fire the button, reset the button. Marvellous. Okay. So I've got the gun out. So, right, now I need to get it out there. So I need to find a way of things. So I officially pick up some from the bomb. It's got some TNT in it. So I put it in, I fire it, and it flies out. Nothing happens. I then realise I didn't light the TNT first. Oops. So I have to reset. Like I've got another bit of TNT, so I have to reset it. I find a lighter. Oh, and you can smoke in this game as well. If you get a cigar, you can light the cigar and pop it. If you pop
That's
it on your mouth,
fantastic.
yeah, you actually start smoking it. And if you find a hat, you can put the hat on as well.
That is neat.
So,
That is neat.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah,
try
so-
that in Superhot. Like, could I put things on my head and stuff like that?
There's a game called Job Simulator where it simulates like you're like in this museum. It simulates jobs. All the jobs are cut and they're cartridge based. And if you put the cartridge on in your mouth, you'll blow dust out of the cartridge.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, so I put this. So first of all, I lit the cigar. Obviously, you know, I'm a cigarette. I need to relax a bit.
As you do.
Oh, and I also found a bottle of champagne, some glass. So I had a little drink of champagne as well. So I poured it into because you have to pop the bottle and pour it into
You got a little bit on the old slosh side as you're trying to get out of your car.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to your secret agent. So I end up lighting the explosive, pop it in the gun, fire it again. And not a lot seems to happen. It doesn't seem to explode. So okay, this ain't game right. So I find some smoke grenades. I launch one of those.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because they're flammable or not, but it worked. It launched it, and they sort of filled it with smoke. And the next thing I know, the back door explodes, and then I can put my foot on the throttle. Well, in this case, push it psychically, and I go drive forwards out the plane, and I escape the mission.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's basically that's how all the other missions play out. You are in a sitting position. You don't need to move around the room. And there's some parts where you do have the duck, which does help. And of course, you can still move around. Even though it's a scene-based game, you can stand up and have a look around. Doesn't matter; it will let you do that. It just you don't have to. And yeah, you basically complete each puzzle. Now, replayability-wise, all the puzzles are the same every time.
Okay.
Nothing changes. There's no sort of random elements into it, which would have been nice. Particularly like things like safes and stuff. It'd be nice that the code changed, or perhaps when the code was hidden, changed. Yeah. So you had to sort of look at it every single time. Just add a little bit of replayability. So once you've played the missions through once, there's really no reason to go back. You can unlock things by playing them multiple times. So like there'll be like sort of 6 unlocks per mission. You by doing certain actions, like achieve it, you'll basically unlock something like like pouring the glass of champagne. I think unlocks the bottles of champagne to appear on your desk in your office back at base. Well, that's quite cool. The office is like your mission select screen, and all your missions are like tape reels. So you have to sort of like put them in the projector. You sort of, which mission you want, you pick it out of your little slot and pop it into the projector to play the mission.
That's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. So, and the only other option is there's like speed run challenges to them. Like that car one, you should be able to do like I think less than 2 minutes. I think like the first I played took me like 8. So there's like sort of speed one stuff added to it to do and so forth. So they try to put replayability in it.
That's nifty, but I imagine that, like as you say, sometimes tracking can be a little bit fiddly. So I mean, you'd have to be really precise with your movements too.
Yes and no, because the way it's designed is they thought about that, and it's not too het up. It's everything slightly oversized to make it so that you don't, apart from the twisting problem. Everything's oversized, so that actually is like because this is an old game. I think this is one of the earlier VR games. So it was designed for
everything's like
hardware.
Oversized, goofy, and magnetic. I suppose.
Yeah,
kind of like Superhot. Like you don't have to be on the button accurate to do something. No. It'll kind of so to start a Superhot mission, you get given a disc and you have to put the disc into the computer. You don't have to line it up perfectly to slot it into the computer. You just have to get the disc in the area of the slot, and then it'll go. You try to put the disc in, and it goes, kind of thing. Yeah.
You can sort of like play stuff. It's like there's certain bits where as long as you get the part you need to do close enough.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
It does the rest of the work.
Yeah. So it's a bit. Because basically they launched an update to it called the Death Engine update, which had 2 extra levels to the main game. So there's only 6 levels in the original game, and they add 2 extra ones in this update.
Yeah.
For free, which is quite neat, I think. And there's a bit where you have to like assemble a puzzle. And literally what you do is get a piece or drop it roughly where it needs to be, and it will just spin itself around, lock into place automatically.
Yeah.
So it's got a sort of like quality of life, because that'd be really fiddly to try and do it properly. That'd be really fiddly to do it otherwise. So I say I really enjoyed it. It was annoying. I think I probably spent about 6-7 hours playing through it. But it was really nifty. I really enjoyed it. I love that they clearly went for quality over quantity. Each environment's quite neat, even quite in depth. They all require some of them later. Generally, they're not too heavy on the timing. Most of them are you can take your time over. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There are a few bits where a clock is put on you. There's one quite late on where you have to ascend an escape vessel on a submarine. Your submarine escape vessel, you have to ascend it. And as things go up, things like breaking down. So you have to like grab like glue guns to fix things and so forth.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of like plan what you're doing as you go up and down just to sort of get through and so forth. It does that sort of, which is quite neat. But yeah, really, really fun, really neat little game. That's sort of things I like in VR. They're like sort of they're using what you can do in VR to its advantage. Because basically it's a hidden object game. Because I said to my sister, I said, you probably like this game because basically she plays a lot of hidden object games. And she likes to use it when she likes to do it like sort of lunchtime to relax. She doesn't need anything powerful to play it on. I said, you would like this game because it is basically a hidden object game. You can just sort of you'd be quite good at it actually because it's just basically little puzzle games. So it's really neat, really fun. So I do recommend it. I think it's about £15, I think, which I think is actually I would actually say is a fair price.
That's not a bad price for a VR game.
Yeah, I think it's about £15. Yeah, definitely I think a fair price for the game. I've also dabbled a little bit with Half-Life Alyx, but I've not got very far through that because that's the game I'm trying to desensitize myself to motion.
Okay.
So I think it will work better with both the teleportation with actual motion in it.
Now, I've actually spoken to some folks who have played Half-Life Alyx, and they tend to play it with that kind of middle ground the teleportation with movement. So like, you know how so you know normally teleportation is a blink.
Yeah.
So you say, I want to go here, and then like the screen will go blink, black, and you are where you are.
Yeah.
Half-Life Alyx has this thing where you can select the area and then you'll very quickly zip to that area without you actually having to physically move. Yeah. A lot of people have told me that
fast teleport.
A lot of people have told me that fast teleport mode is pretty much the way to play if you suffer with motion sickness.
Oh, that's okay.
That's a nice little middle ground.
So I've played there's 4 different modes you can pick for motion in Half-Life Alyx. You've got teleport. Just plain teleport, which is what you described, where you just black out and you blink sometimes you blink out of existence to reappear. That's what they call the most comfortable version. You've then got what you just described, which is the fast teleport, where you actually walk between places. You've then got move in the direction you're looking. So basically, works like an old-fashioned game where you use mouse to the ground, whichever way the mouse is looking, wherever way you move the mouse, wherever you're forward, wherever way direction you're pointing forwards on a game, you'll move forwards in.
Yeah, so if you're looking left and you start to move forwards, you'll then start going in that direction. Yeah,
so you can do things like walk around corners. You sort of turn and look around the corners. That I found okay for a while. It did feel a bit weird when you just turn your head, you start changing direction. That feels a little bit weird.
A-Tech does that.
Yeah. The final mode is you move the direction your hand is pointing.
Interesting.
So I suppose it does sort of make sense because it means you can you can effectively sort of move down, say, a corridor, but look to your right to aim a gun and shoot as you're going past.
Yeah.
You could do stuff like that. So I've tried that. I did not get on with that at all. That was like, no, I cannot play like this. This feels too wrong. So I've started playing. I probably played like an hour using that mode, using the wherever you're pointing, you're going to go mode. I did feel a little bit motionless out there, so I did stop, but before I got too much, because I made a mistake before in VR where I felt a bit sick but kept going, and then I made myself really sick.
Okay.
To the point where I literally, this is no exaggeration, I had to basically take the headset off and go lie down in a dark room for a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
That's not because I made myself so sick. I had to, because I really thought I was going to throw up.
Thankfully, I've not had that issue yet.
Yeah, I suffered from motion sickness when I was younger. I suffered from motion sickness quite a lot. Mm-hmm. I still do get it a little bit now. Actually, I'm pretty much over. I don't usually, unless someone's doing really stupid in the car, say I'm all right. But I do suffer from it a little bit now. I've not been on a boat, so I don't know what I'm like on a boat for a long time. But I've been on a boat a couple of times, but I've not been too bad.
Yeah,
we've been quite slow moving, so I don't know what they'll be like now. But yeah, I was but I don't want to repeat that experience. Having said that, I also this time of year tend to suffer a lot from cluster headaches when the season changes.
Okay.
I get a lot of cluster headaches, and that's what usually whenever it gets sort of once we start going to autumn, I get it. When we sort of go from sort of winter to spring, I start to get them
Yeah.
for usually 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm getting that bit. So I don't know if if the headache was a motion sickness headache or whether it was basically feels the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's from motion sickness or whether it's from this seasonal changing sort of thing.
You.
I don't know, but I want to keep going because I want to get past motion sickness in VR games. But so I'm sort of like, well, I like it. I want to play it. I'll use this as my encouragement.
Yeah.
To get through it all. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. But I haven't played very far, so I will report back next time, and I'll give a lot more in depth.
Sure.
But so far, it's really neat. There's a little bit of extra polish. You can tell that a big company who've actually gone right. Let's spend the time and get this right. And there's a lot of little details in it, which I'll go through in more depth when we next talk about it, which really make it feel that little bit special.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. If it seemed even remotely half-assed, that would be a royal joke because Valve designed this game around an entire piece of hardware. I mean, the hardware, you could say either the game was designed for the hardware or the hardware was designed for the mechanics they plan to put into the game.
Mm.
It was built around a specific piece of hardware. If it wasn't...
An expensive piece of hardware as well. This is the Valve Index, which is the best part of, I think last time I looked was actually now nearly £1,200.
Mm.
And it does come with a free copy of Half-Life Alyx, so if you buy it.
Yeah, there you go. There's your bonus.
Yeah. But, yeah, so they obviously have to make it worthwhile buying. And to be fair, Valve very rarely put out a badly... Okay, might not necessarily like the game design, but in terms like and how solid the games are, they very rarely put a shitty one out there.
Yeah.
In general, their games are usually pretty solid.
Mechanically, it has to work.
Yeah, but they're like you can tell they've thought about it. They've tested it really hard. They've made sure it feels right.
Yeah.
Where some developers, their games feel a little bit like you don't quite play tested this right.
Mm-hmm.
Their games usually, even like the mechanics of the game, they do feel solid, and this feels solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely talk more next podcast.
Fantastic. I was actually tempted to go through Half-Life 1 and 2 and then episodes 1 and 2 to then go through Alyx. Because apparently they do recommend you play through one of the episodes. I don't remember which one though.
You would want to play through episode 2 at least, because this episode... Basically, it's the trouble is though, episode 1 takes place directly after Half-Life 2, and episode 2 follows on from episode 1. So you do kind of need to play at least Half-Life 2 and episode 1 and 2 to then, because it basically Half-Life Alyx, I mean, it's not really the greatest one because basically Half-Life Alyx starts with a spoiler, which you probably already know about.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say on here in case of people out there who haven't played it on the small chance, but odds are you probably already know about the spoiler. It starts by saying, since this is all that takes place before this happened, and what happened is the spoiler.
Okay.
So, but story-wise, because Half-Life is actually a prequel, it's set before Gordon gets returned in Half-Life 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a prequel, so it's all set just before that. But yeah, it's neat. So I'll get into a lot more detail next time.
Sure.
Cool. Well, that is it for me. So I think we've done quite well with our VR chat this week.
Fantastic.
So anything else from yourself?
No, I'm good, mate. I'm looking forward to maybe jumping in. I really want to finish the few games that I've started in VR. So I really want to finish Superhot. I really want to finish A-Tech Cybernetic. I think A-Tech's going to be the harder one because that is the one that I'm playing full ball motion. Because I like you say, I wanted to see about this whole VR motion sickness thing and train myself out of it. I don't see myself streaming any VR games at the moment. I'm having a break from streaming, but I really want to kind of hammer my way through, get to the point where VR doesn't make me sick, get my C legs, my VR legs.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to stream a few games I'd like to try VR chat, but it's a really neat concept. And as I say, originally I was concerned that it wouldn't really work all that well for me because of my bad eyes. But it's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
I think a final thought to say about VR to anyone who's sort of thinking about VR: treat VR like you're buying a console.
Yeah,
it's like buying Nintendo Wii. It's a complete. It's treated like its own little thing. A complete different way of interacting with your game. It just happens to require your PC to work, unless you get a Quest,
which you can't because it doesn't exist anymore.
Have they actually discontinued it, or was it out just glass?
It's discontinued. It's done. It's gone. It's finished. It's gone everywhere. You can't buy them in any store in the UK, from what I've seen, and you can't buy them from Oculus Direct.
Because I was looking because it said out of stock.
It's gone.
Last time I looked, it's now gone.
It's gone absolutely everywhere because what used to be, I can't remember what the Oculus event was called, but something like Oculus Direct or something like that is due to happen on the 16th, and rumor has it will be out then. Yeah, rumor has it they're probably going to throw out a new headset. Rumor also has it's going to be a pretty cheap headset, but they're going to try and sort out some jiggery pokery from the Quest 1, which was apparently an absolutely horribly uncomfortable headset. But I will say I've enjoyed my time in VR enough to potentially look into a Quest at some point. Like when the new one comes out, I'd be tempted to try one of those with the new tracking and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
something that I can literally throw in my bag and take with my laptop somewhere.
Because they're not. The new Rifts actually is not. I mean, the Rift I bought was £400. That's not silly money. That is really not silly money. Actually, it's
for what it is. It's not bad.
I mean, a new console costs you more than that. As when it's launched, it costs you more than that. So it's definitely not silly money. It's not like the previous one, which was like £600. Mm-hmm. Which was a real commitment. This is actually, this is definitely, in my mind, it's amazing actually how the technology has advanced and come down in price.
Yes. I believe guesstimated prices are somewhere between like £200, £250 for the new headset. So they're really, really doing some magic with the costs here. Because the Quest was the full-on standalone version, wasn't it? That you could then eventually plug into the computer. That is what I'm tempted to try, because the Quest would allow you to plug in a USB 3C cable into your computer and turn it from a standalone into a kind of witchcrafty tied or tethered headset. So I only literally needed one cable to go. I'd be tempted to try one of the new ones if it offers the same feature set, so that I could literally just throw it in my bag. Because the one thing that makes the Rift a little bit more awkward is you need to have 3 USB ports, HDMI port, all that kind of stuff. The Quest will literally do all of that through a USB-C cable.
I mean, that's also bad. The Rift S only requires one USB and DisplayPort.
Sure.
Because you don't have the space stations.
Yeah,
so
that would be easier to carry around with you, because that was one of the things I was thinking about. Like, if I were to go anywhere to take it with me, I'd need to take up a lot of bag space to carry the base station and stuff like that.
Another little difference between the Rift S and the original Rift is the Rift S has a 5-meter cable, not a 4-meter cable.
Sure, I will be honest. I could have really done with that extra cable length recently.
Supposedly, I've been told you can extend it a little bit and get away with it, but you can't go mad. I think you can extend. I think some people said they've extended for a couple of meters with no problem, but once you get beyond that, they start having some issues.
Yeah.
So you can just literally buy a USB extension and a HDMI port extension and extend it a couple of meters.
Yeah.
I never did, because I actually didn't find it that much of a problem. And this one I've had no problems because that extra meter was it was okay when I used to use my previous Rift. This one, the extra meter, is basically you don't even know the cable's there now.
Yeah.
So
that's all good.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed our VR podcast.
And thank you again for the headset, Rams. Very much appreciated.
No, you're more than welcome to it, mate. Like I say, I wasn't going to get anything else. I'd rather give it someone who I know is going to has wanted to try it and is going to make use of it, than to put it on eBay and bought something for on a whim. I'd rather get someone who knows going to actually get use out of it and actually enjoy it and get something out of it, and I can see I can make someone happy. And it's always nice to make someone happy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, and thank you very much for gifting me Half-Life Alex.
It's all good. Anytime.
So
I know you want to play it.
I was a nice little surprise. I walked back in. It's like, oh, Skazz has gifted you Half-Life Alex. It's like, ooh.
Well, I mean, I remember you were talking about it, and I did offer to pay for the headset, and you weren't having it, and I was like, he wants to play Half-Life, so fuck it. Here you go, mate. Have it.
So no, thank you very much for that.
That's all good, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and if it's enough to help you push through your motion sickness, I would be very much. If you can get through the motion sickness thing, I would be interested to find out, one, how it is after you've gotten past your motion sickness, like how you did it and how long it took, and then for you to then go through the entirety of Half-Life Alyx with like full bore running around, moving, like how that changes the experience for you. That'd be really interesting for me.
I think because it opens up a whole new experience. Because one of the other things we didn't mention was we mentioned the like sitting thing. Rift also split their game types into
like comfort. So you've got like intense and
and there's a game I want to play called The Climb.
Is that the mountain climbing one you told me?
Yeah, it's
that's a Rift Store exclusive. It must be because I couldn't find it on Steam.
It's not on Steam, no. It's CryEngine.
Oh, okay.
Crytek, and you are climbing up a mountain, and it looks pretty intense. It says its comfort level is intense.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Because there's a video on. I will say the Oculus Store. I don't really like. It's not.
I'm not a fan, to be honest.
Yeah. But there's because it's not, there's like videos and stuff that are not obvious. You have to actually go on the store, just click on the picture at the top, and actually that then loads up a load of videos and images if you do that. It's like, well, that's not very obvious.
Just a quick question: Do you prefer to use? Well, obviously you prefer to use Steam rather than the Oculus Store.
Yeah. I like all my games in one place. I hate having spread across multiple services.
Yeah. I will say some of the sales that the Oculus Store have had have been quite nice, but I like you would prefer to have them in Steam rather than the Oculus Store. Plus, my overlay software that I mentioned I bought will only work if a game is running in Steam VR.
Oh, right, okay.
So, but apparently there are hacky ways to get Oculus Store exclusives to work on like Steam VR stuff.
Yeah, that is sort of because obviously Oculus' own software, and Steam VR had to cut as a sort of like has to load the Oculus software so it can load itself.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can accidentally exit out. So you'll be in the Steam sort of, because both these systems have like a lobby system where like you are in a room and the room's interactive. You can like open up. Well, actually, Steam is actually better because you actually have a big screen with all your games on. You can actually just sort of interact. Whereas the Rift one is not quite so interactive. It's just basically a room. You have to load up an actual menu to actually load what you want. But if you're not careful, you can actually exit out the Steam VR lobby and then end up in the Rift's VR lobby.
Well, I found when I was playing A-Tech, I couldn't use any of my overlay software because apparently some games completely bypass the kind of like little inbuilt VR lobby thing. And so it would load up Steam VR so that then it would be displayed on my desktop. And it would say that Steam VR is running, but I then couldn't exit the game using the inbuilt controls. Yeah. I would literally have to then take the headset off, go over to my computer and close the game because it wouldn't actually acknowledge the fact that Steam VR existed. The Oculus Store would be there, so I could hit the Oculus button, but if I needed to adjust anything in Steam VR, it wouldn't actually allow me to do it.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's also a little... It does still feel like early days. In now, it feels like there's still little things they need to figure out. They've not quite figured everything out yet.
For sure, but I see that when this becomes a thing, it's going to be fantastic.
The difference between when I first picked my Rift up, which would have been, I want to say 2016, I picked it up. It was definitely not a lot. I didn't pick up at launch, but I picked up fairly within a few months of launch, I believe. I think about... I'll have to look back for the show notes. I think about 2016 I picked it up.
Sure.
The difference since then is quite noticeable. There's definitely a lot of little quality in life improvements. And it just feels a little bit more stable and so forth. It's definitely an improvement. I mean, Steam VR used to have its own setup process.
Yeah.
But I don't know how... No, see, when I got my new Rift, I didn't have to do anything on Steam VR.
No,
I
I
just loaded
didn't
it
either.
immediately. So they also now pull that from the Oculus data because it instantly sets up to do anything. Whereas previously, you would have to set the Rift up again in Steam and go through the same Guardian system, the same all that process all over again, but with Steam to get it to work. So that's sort of kind of neat that they've sorted that out, and it feels a bit more seamless now.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's try this again. I hope you've enjoyed our VR podcast. I know we all have. So if you've enjoyed this, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/randnerds. You can go on our website, website.com, www.randnerds.com, will redirect you to the right place. You can check out the podcast. If you go to anchor.fm/randnerds, you'll find our podcast and all the various places you can pick it up from. So if you hate Apple and don't have anything to do with iTunes, you don't have to.
Fantastic.
You can go give your money to Amazon instead.
Yeah,
so that's fine. Well, there's no money involved to listen to our podcast, but you can if you want. So we hope you've enjoyed that. We'll be back again for our next live stream on the 26th of September. We look forward to seeing you guys then. So from me, TheSuffolkRam.
Skazz.
We look forward to seeing you guys then.
Take it easy, guys.